All right, let's talk about our Lesson 13 problem set. I have copied down the table onto my page, and I notice on my first column that I have all of the information for both yellow and blue. So since I have both of these numbers, I need to create a relationship so I can find a k-value and an equation between yellow and blue. So now you can do these either ways. You can compare yellow to blue or blue to yellow. I'm going to compare blue to yellow. Make sure you write down what you are comparing and in what order. Now we know when we compare things, when we compare these y to x, and that's going to help us find our k value. So now we need to take our value for blue, which is right up here, and we're going to put it on top, and we're going to put our value for yellow on the bottom, and then we're going to divide those out so that we can find our k value. All right, so we have 5 1/4 over 3 1/2. In order to work these, we need to change our mixed numbers into improper fractions. So I'm going to do that for both my blue value and my yellow value. 4 times 5 is 20, plus 1 would be 21. So I have 21/4 over 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7, so I have 7 halves. Now to divide our fractions, so we have 21/4 divided by 7 halves. We do our keep, change, flip. So we're going to times both by the reciprocal of this bottom one, so we're going to times by 2/7. Now we've talked about in class, this, when we multiply, becomes 1, so we don't actually have to work it out anymore, so let's focus our attention to our top part. 21 times 2 is 42, and on the bottom, 4 times 7 is 28. I know both of these are divisible by 2 because they're even numbers, so let's divide by 2. We want to get our numbers as small as possible, which gives us 21 over 14. And then I know 21 and 14 both have factors of 7, so we're going to divide a 7 out as well, which leaves us with 3 over 2. So our k value, when we compare blue and yellow, is 3 halves. Now let's use our k value to write the equation for the relationship between blue and yellow. So our equation would be y equals 3 halves x. Now I'm going to use this equation to help me solve anytime I have a value for yellow or I have a value for blue. It will allow us to get the other value that we don't have. So I go back to my table, and if I look, I notice that on the second row I do not have a yellow value or a blue value, so I can't solve anything here yet. So let's go down to our third row. I notice that my blue value is 6 3/4. So if we go back to our relationship, blue was on our top, which is a y value. So we're going to take our equation, but instead of a y value, or a y here, we're going to replace it with this 6 3/4. Let me get a different color here. All right, so I'm going to put that this is line 3. I know that my y value is 6 3/4, and the equation that I'm using is y equals 3 halves times x. I'm going to rewrite my equation and replace my y value, or my y value here, with my y value that I have in my table. So 6 3/4 is equal to 3 halves times x. Since I don't know what to multiply here, I need to work backwards and do the opposite. So instead of multiply by 3 halves, I'm actually going to divide both sides by 3 halves. 3 halves divided by 3 halves turns into a 1, so I know that I have 1x is equal to, now I'm going to draw an arrow, and I'm going to do my work over here. So we're going to do 6 3/4 divided by 3/2. So I'm going to move this direction so I don't run out of room. We change this mixed number into an improper fraction. 4 times 6 is 24, plus 3 would be 27 over 4 divided by 3/2. In order to divide our fractions, we need to keep, change, flip. So we're going to multiply by the reciprocal of the bottom, which is 2/3. This becomes a 1, and now let's multiply. 27 times 2 is, let's see, 54, and 4 times 3 is 12. Now I need to simplify that down, and I'm going to create a mixed number as well as the improper fraction. So I know 12 goes into 54 4 times, so this is equal to 4. And if I take out 48 pieces, I am left with 6. So I have 6/12, which when I simplify is 4 1/2. So if I go back into my table, I'm going to write both my improper fraction, 54/12, and I'm also going to put my mixed number. When you go to solve for this last row, you do the exact same thing we did on line 3, except now we have a yellow number, which is 6.5, and yellow is our x value. So you need to rewrite this equation, but replace your x value with your x number, and that will find you your blue value.